Hello and welcome to this episode of the Lebenspraxis podcast. And it's a special episode definitely because it's the first time I have two guests here. So we have a very international episode. We have Matthew Bernstein, or I like to say it in the German way, Matthew Bernstein from the US, more specifically from Boulder in Colorado. And we have Rodrigo. How do I say your last name, Rodrigo, please? Salulima, is it correct?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, okay. It was a kind of perfect. Yeah, it was like perfect enough, I think. Because Rodrigo has just told us like everyone is saying his name wrong. Yeah, and Rodrigo is from Brazil and more precisely from Brasilia. So both of them have several things in common. But here in this episode, the thing that they have in common, that is the reason why they're both as guests in this episode, is they both have a gym. Matt actually owns two gyms. They're both in Colorado. And correct. Rodrigo owns a gym in Brasilia. So what we want to talk about in this episode is the bit behind the scenes of the movement gyms. Yeah, we will talk about how they created their gyms. We will talk about the financial side. We will talk about the entrepreneurial side and so on and so forth. So my target group for this episode is definitely people that are trainers, people that own gyms themselves, people that want to open a gym. And of course, everyone can listen along that is interested in this topic. Just two sentences about me and connection to gyms, because I was involved two times in creating some sort of a gym place. One time when I was like 18, 19, we created a place for parkour. And the two guys that were in charge of creating it needed someone that has time, that can oversee, let's say, the construction. We did everything ourselves. That was me. I was 18, 19, I had nothing to do. So they asked me, I became sort of like a facility manager, you would say nowadays, like a janitor or something like that. That was my first experience, several months of creating this place. And this doesn't exist anymore, but existed for a few years. And then a few years ago, I opened a place that I called the school, where people were able to live and train. And I stopped having this place during the Corona time because there was too much on my plate through Corona, and I didn't want to take the financial risk. So what is very important for me to say, and what I think is for many people completely unclear, because most people, they are employed. There's just a small percentage of people, especially in Europe, maybe in the US, for example, it's a little bit different. I don't know how it's in Brazil, but the percentage of people that are entrepreneurs is relatively little in Germany. So people sometimes have a little bit of a hard time to understand what it means to have a place and to create a place. And for me, everyone that has a place, whatever it is, like if it's a restaurant, if it's a movement gym, if it's a roller coaster park, is a hero for me in that sense that I think I have a feeling for how difficult it is to run such a place, how much work it is, and just the fact that you basically have this responsibility also for something, and that is a place where many people go and where people are also employed and so on. And that can mean many nights with little sleep or no sleep. And I want to really make sure that everyone understands that creating a place, for example, a movement place, is a special thing and that needs to be appreciated by the people that go there, but also by the people that don't go there. I would now like from both our guests to hear a little bit about how it came to be that they created a gym, a place to practice movement. Matt, would you be so kind to introduce us to the history of you creating a gym?
Yeah, of course. I started out really the first time I got interested in being physical. I wasn't a very physical kid. I played a lot of sports, but I was very bad at sports. And in my early 20s, I became a firefighter, which actually, Joseph, we were talking about that. It was a very challenging job to get. here in the States. And at that point, I became quite overweight and out of shape, which is, I think, funny for a lot of people to think about. I just wasn't eating great, and I was drinking a lot at the time as well. And I started getting really interested in just becoming more physically capable. That was kind of where it started from, was this desire to, if I'm going to be in this career as a firefighter, I need to be more physically capable to help people out, because it's a very physically demanding job. And I started by, actually the first thing I ever did was P90X. I don't know if you remember this thing, P90X. And at the time I was living in a town called Steamboat Springs, which is a ski town, a mountain town, a very small community. And from P90X, I moved on to CrossFit. And this was in 2008. CrossFit was the first thing I really saw that was really outside of the box of how I was seeing the world. I didn't dance. I didn't do any of the things that I'm doing now. And so CrossFit to me was that first thing that I was like, oh my God, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to get there. From there, I really, really saw myself developing a career in that field. And I actually wanted to start a children's gym. I don't know why, but there was just something in me that wanted to run fitness for children. And so when that happened, I had just gotten hurt. I had just had a concussion as a firefighter, and things just lined up where I was able to leave that job and to go and try and pursue this idea of running a gym for children in New York City. And I moved back there, and as I was discussing a few weeks ago with some folks, I worked at Lululemon, and I sold clothes for Lululemon. And just kept learning as much as possible in the CrossFit world. And from there, after some time, I got a job working at a regular fitness gym. I helped them as the manager, and then I got hired to work at the CrossFit gym. And what was great about this place was the people who owned it were very already thinking outside of the box. So Keith Wittenstein, who owned this gym in Brooklyn called CrossFit Virtuosity, actually was a purple belt under Renzo Gracie, was also a yoga teacher as well as working for CrossFit. And so really with their guidance, I started to dig into things a little bit more deeply. And from there, in 2013 or 2012, I learned about Ido. And really in that time, that was when everything started to switch, when I first started hearing him speak about movement. That was 2013. I got really interested in studying with him, and within probably a year started shifting the way I was teaching and looking more at the movement side of things. And in 2014, my wife and I got married, and then we moved back here to Colorado. And after 3 years of working in New York City, which is, I think, like 700 years of working in other places, I'm sure it's like Rio, it's crazy, and all you do is work there, and that's it, work and party. I moved back to Colorado, and I didn't really want to start my own facility. That was never the intention. But after working in a gym here and seeing people's desire to do the type of work that I was doing at the time, I realized, like, I'm just going to make an investment in myself, and I'm going to see if I can get this thing off the ground. And in 2016, so a year later, I signed my first lease here in Boulder. That's 8 years ago this month. And that's how I find myself in this position right now.
Thank you very much, Matt. Nice. Rodrigo, what's your story behind your gym?
Yeah, it has some similarities and also some differences. I had a physical education college degree, so I was working with that in regular fitness gyms, and also teaching capoeira classes for kids. I got graduated, I was hired by the gym, I was working there. I was also helping a guy in a physical preparation of a volleyball team. And even though I'm almost midget, close to the height of that guys, but I was learning a lot, like teaching capoeira, teaching fitness, physical preparation. I loved that. But here, probably it's not like US, that it's kind of ingrained in people to have this entrepreneur blood. And I live in the capital of Brazil. So a lot of people here study a lot to have work for the government, have public jobs. So it was kind of the natural way, you know. And I started to study, 2 years studying. I got the job. I never stopped teaching, but I was just teaching like some private classes here and there, just more for joy, not to to complement the financial side of my life. But I love to teach. But I was working there for 2.5 years, 3 years, like office job. I was working for the government for educational projects for schools in Brazil. It was a kind of nice job. And then I met Ido Portal on the internet, and I started to read his things, his old blog, and some light inside of me started to pop up that, okay, like this kind of physical education I want to teach, because the fitness world was not interesting me anymore, nor physical preparation, performance, aesthetics, nothing of that. And I said, hey, I need to know this guy, I need to know what he's doing. Then I had the financial freedom at the time to go abroad, overseas for workshops. I started to follow him, do online coaching, a lot of events for a lot of years, participating on his mentorship program. And then I started to teach more and more and work less and less in my old job. I asked for a reduction of time that I was working. And a lot of people that I was teaching, they started to make a little bit of pressure, like, hey, this is amazing. Like, it's making a lot of good for me. I'm teaching my family, I'm teaching my friends. This should be like group classes. And then I start to, instead of privates, I started to teach like 3 or 4 people in a row. Like after a whole day of work, they went to my parents' house. I was living there at that time. Then I started to teach these small groups. And it was kind of a natural unfold of things. I need to teach more. I need to have a place. But I didn't have this in my blood. I didn't have any clue about how to start this. So a lot of people started to approach me with some propositions of partnerships. I was very suspicious about that because I don't know who to trust, because I don't know even how to start. I don't know anything. And I was kind of lost in that sense. And I received, my father had just retired at that time. And he said, hey, do you want some help to rent a place? And maybe you start this? And I said, of course. So I started this partnership with my father. Then my mother and my sister. It's a family business until today. We rented this small place. I started doing both things together, working for the government and teach the facility there. And it started to grow. And then I had to make a decision at some point. Like I have to change the boat. And then I asked to be dismissed from my old job. A lot of people saying that I'm crazy because now you have the freedom for the rest of your life. That I was feeling in the jail there. So it was the opposite. So I jumped from one boat to another. And yeah, because of all the passion and the effort, things are going well until now. And I'm here.
Wow, beautiful, Rodrigo. I didn't know that it's such a family business. That's very beautiful to hear. Matt, so Rodrigo had a community in the sense already when he started with the gym. Like he first was teaching people and then started the gym. You also taught people in New York. Can you explain again, like when you came to Boulder, you said you were in the gym there as well, but when you started your own gym, did you have the feeling like you had to build from the ground up your community, or were people already like directly coming into the gym?
Yeah, I was teaching out of a CrossFit gym here in Boulder, and I had never lived here before. So I didn't have a community of people already. And when I made the decision to go out on my own, I was very quickly kicked out of this gym. Like they didn't want me teaching there anymore. Mm-hmm. And so 10 students, many of who I'm still close with today, came with me, and we rented Apex Parkour, Ryan Ford and Amos, their gym. We rented their gym at 6 in the morning because they didn't wake up until like 11 in the morning. So they let me get in there, and we rented their space for them. And so I had probably between 5 and 10 people coming to classes at the parkour gym. And I had signed a lease already. So when we opened up on day 1, I had 10 students committed to staying with me on some kind of membership. So on day 1, I had 10 students. And
what's the time in between?
Yeah.
Between your opening your gym and renting Apex? How much time is there in between?
4 months. I had 4 months of being kicked out of that gym. And maybe there was 20 to 30 people coming to those classes at the CrossFit gym. And actually, so I think at that time I started renting the Apex gym in the morning, and then another CrossFit gym let me teach class in the evening. And at most, I think I had between 10 and 15 people coming to those classes once I left that CrossFit gym here in Boulder. So it was 4 months and 10 students when we opened up the doors. So it was, it's funny thinking back, I actually was not scared. I was just thinking, I was almost talking myself into saying that I was scared, and I wasn't scared at all. I don't know why. I don't know if I was just that young and that excited, but I had no fear. I was just wanted to do it so bad that it was all I cared about. And I knew that if I just did the thing, then I would figure out a way to continue to make it work.
Beautiful. Let's dive deeper into this moment with both of you where you started your gyms. Like you said, okay, from signing the lease to the gym. This took also around 4 months or longer. This was 4 months, no, Matt?
Yeah. It was to build the space 3-4 months. Yeah.
The place that you rented, how much did you had to do? Was it completely, probably completely empty? No, but was there a renovation that had to be done? Is it an old building? Is it a newer building?
Yeah, the building was an office space. So it was half office, and then they had like an area where trucks could come in. And so we had to demolish the office space, rip everything out. And then we had to build everything from scratch. And luckily for us in this first iteration of things, it was not the most, and Rodrigo, you've seen the space. I love that space, but it wasn't like we had to build so much. It's one floor. It's 2,400 square feet, which I have no idea how to translate that into meters for you.
20 second. How much? 2,400.
2,400. Yeah.
2,400. So that's 222 square meters.
Yeah, and we really just, the biggest thing that I had was I needed to figure out a way in every CrossFit gym I ever went to, and every CrossFit gym I would host events at for movement related things. Like I brought Ido or Delio over to the States. There was always the pull-up bar systems they had were always connected to the floor. And so my biggest thing I needed to solve for was how do I build these bars without having and have enough space to move where they weren't in the way. And so that's where I created these monkey bar systems that I have, these yellow bars that some of you might have seen before. So to me, that was the most important thing, is as much open space as possible. And so it took us 3 months to build it out, which now thinking back on that is we did it for, and I guess this is something we'll talk about, but it cost me at the time $63,000 to build the space. And thinking back on that, if I could build a space for $63,000 right now, I would be very happy, because it is now, almost 10 times that expensive, how expensive things have gotten. So that's
like everything is 10 times more expensive, like the materials, the work, the lease,
everything.
Okay.
And the prices have gone crazy in the last few years. So it's thinking back on that. I think also from a business perspective, there was a little bit of safety in that, because it wasn't nearly as crazy of what I'm running into now, like in building out our Denver space. And then we actually are about to sign a new lease here in Boulder for a bigger space. And I would love if I could go back to those prices. But again, my biggest thing was build a space, give people room where they can move without anything on the ground, just have a nice floor and a space where people could come and meet and do this thing together. And that was my priority. And I had no one to talk to. I mean, even at that time, Rodrigo, that was 2016, he had started maybe 6 months before me. And even at that time, we weren't as nearly as close as we are now. So it was really just taking a shot in the dark and seeing what I could do. I had no one to talk to about it. So yeah. It was so exciting, and now thinking back on it, I must have pushed down a lot of the overwhelm very well, because it's making me overwhelmed thinking about it right now.
And Rodrigo, was this similar for you? Like, how much time did it take for you to prepare the place? And I know you moved place once already, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that. So maybe you can tell us first about your first place. how they came to be, like the time that you need to invest to make it and so on.
Yeah, because it's two different stories. Like the first place that we rented and now this place that we own. So yeah, different journeys. The first journey is kind of similar for sure. We rented a place that used to be a ballet place. So the floor was pretty nice. We were very lucky to have that good and slidey wooden floor. Even today, like the old students, they say that they miss the smell of the place and they miss that floor. Even though now it's like very technological floor, but yeah, there's something in the wood for me as well. I miss that. And so I even saw that some people asked what are the equipments needed. Luckily, in this business, we don't need much, right? I have a t-shirt here I made as a joke, but also like to educate people. It's written wall, floor, and bodies. That we just need this: body, wall, and floor, and then things unfold from there. So in the first place, we had this beautiful floor. We had walls, the monkey bars on the rooftop, and rings, and some auxiliary weights and plates and things like these, and elastic bands. So not much of an investment in that sense. But in the sense of paying rent, yeah, this was pretty hard because it was in the middle of the city. So it was very harsh for us to pay for the rent. And the most of the students in the beginning, they were family and friends. And the marketing was mouth-to-mouth communication, like people calling people and hey, what's that you are doing? And people were bringing more people there. I had just one more teacher teaching with me. We were working together in old gym days, and I was training him for a while. And today we kind of joke like, man, we had no idea what we were doing at that time. Because it's true, like we had no idea, but we had a lot of passion and obsession for what we were experiencing in our own bodies. I think that was the big magic of the thing. Like I used to be very unmobile, like lifting weights all my life and things like this. And then when I start to feel this in my body, I start to share that with people. So the first 5 years we have been in this place, the rented place. It was 90 square meters, yeah, I think, or 70 or 90. I'm not sure now. But the big issue, we had 2 pillars in the middle of the room. And that really makes things difficult. But it was nice. For that time, it was like the perfect place. It's the perfect place for that time. And after a while, we started to face the best of the challenge, which is started to become small for that amount of people. So it was a good problem to have. And then we started to thinking about move to a bigger place. I don't know if you want for me to jump there now.
Please, Rodrigo, yeah, do so.
So 5 years there, and then we found a place here a little bit further in less, how do I say, in an area not so noble, not so in the middle of the city, like close to car fixing places and things like this, which is cheaper. And we said, hey, that's the place. Maybe we can use the broken window theory, but on the opposite. You know this theory that there's a car there, and then the car is, people left a car in a neighborhood. The car was there for a few months. And then the guys that were doing the study, they broke the window of the car. After that, in 1 week, the car was destroyed. So we were believing like maybe we can do the opposite. We can start to make the place better. And that's what we did here. All the neighborhoods start to rebuilding the places. And we actually built the facility from the ground up. So we had to ask for loans, right? When you borrow money from the government. We are still paying, and we have a lot of years to pay that. So it's not just easy enjoy journey. There's a lot of struggle here in the financial part. It's also a good pressure, but now it has to go well. We have to pay this. So now it's 2 rooms of 130 square meters, 1 extra room where is the third floor is the bathrooms and the area for people. People bring computers, people work, they do co-working here, home office, they have places to take shower. And we also have, luckily, the rooftop. So the rooftop, people can go to the sun and do ice baths and chill and have conversation. My main goal in this place here, the new place, was to build a place for people to stay and not to keep rotating, because it's more like a club than a gym. It's more like a school than a gym. Like, you want people to be here, to occupy the place, to be and help others, and you come here and people are occupying the place the whole day. So, for example, instead of uncomfortable places to sit, let's find comfortable places to sit. Also, very modular. Like, since we had the experience of the other place, here we had to think a lot about, like, any equipment, it has to serve at least 3, 4, 5 tasks, and not just one equipment for one specific task. So we have to build a place that keep changing. We can, like, for example, in some season of the year, we are working more environmental movement practices and using the wall, and the other we are using more floor work, and the other we are using more the rails. So yeah, we tried not to build any fixed thing here. And just one curiosity about this place. We opened in 2020. After 3 or 4 months, the pandemic came, the COVID thing, and we had to close. Oh man, that was scary. Like, it's very scary. I experienced my first burnout of my life, because immediately we had to close on Saturday. On Monday, I was teaching Zoom classes already with a team of teachers. I remember all the teachers saying, maybe it's gonna last just 2 months or 3 months. And I said, hey, it's better for us to pretend that this is our new reality. Otherwise, we're gonna do just some half job here. I started to do a lot of online classes. I started to help a lot of people, like, with internal practice, meditations in the morning, and this night we're gonna meet everybody in the Zoom classes and we're gonna do some things together. But I started to take care a lot of people. I forgot to take care a little bit of myself. It was financially very hard. We lost like 70 students like this, because they couldn't pay. So it was very scary. But at the same time, the community, we already had this sense of community so strong, ingrained on us, that a lot of people that had more financial conditions, they started to pay for monthly plans just for the facility to have this financial health. So the community got very united in that place, in that time. At the end, people couldn't even hear about Zoom classes. But at the beginning, like at least 1 year, we taught a lot of online classes, and the facility here closed. I used to come here with my car alone and spend the day here seeing all this beautiful building alone with no people. It was sad, but it taught me a lot of things.
Rodrigo, were there government programs to help place owners? Like, did you receive something from the government?
No, actually, here is funny. You start to pay before anything is ready, and then you already start to pay things. But this money that we borrow, you had to apply in a program. You have to prove that you already had something, that you have financial health and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of conditions that it's not easy to have. I know some friends that they have like some acai stores or some things like this, that they are willing to do this for a while and the government is denying. For us, they accepted. It was nice. But we still are paying, and yeah, that's it.
How was that for you, Matt, this time, Corona time?
It was almost the exact same as what Rodrigo just explained, except we lost 86 students that first week.
Wow, exactly 86, all right.
Exactly. I don't know how I know that number, except for the fact that it was so painful. And I honestly couldn't, it is exactly the same way. We had people who stepped up, because if not, we would have been closed for sure. We had some folks who kept their jobs. We have some folks who worked for Zoom and who were students, and they their work started to get very busy, and they said, like we still have a job, like let me help. And some people stepped up and gave some additional money. We asked for a lot of support from those remaining 80 to 100 people that we had. Most people couldn't offer support. We had 3 months where we were really not inside. And just like Rodrigo, that day, Friday, I think maybe it was the 13th of March, Zach Feiner and I were in the gym, and we knew that things were about to go south. And he said, let's film as much as we can film right now so that we have material for people for if things really go where we think they're going. And so we stayed there. I remember this class was going on, and we were just filming every exercise we could think about, just so there was some kind of library. We had 3 months where we were not inside, where we were still. My landlord gave me 1 month where I didn't have to pay, but he recycles aluminum for a living, so he also had to pay his bills. My landlord. We had 1 month where he didn't make us pay. We went to Zoom. We spent a long time on Zoom. And we were able to come back wearing masks, and that was a whole other issue because as we all know, there was, especially in the States, it was so hard. Some people were so for masks, some people were so against them, and to hold all of that, very challenging. And so there was a lot of turmoil for a long time. We went into COVID. We had finally started to, as Marcello's question, I believe, is someone asked, when did you break even? We started to move in that direction of breaking even just before COVID. It was the first time, the first 6 months I didn't pay myself of the business. And right before COVID was the first time that I had brought my salary up to above the poverty line. And then COVID happened, and I'm happy to say it, because it's nice for people to hear, but I'm still at that place now. And COVID was extremely hard, and I think we're still making up for it financially as a business, but I think the community and the people around us, the teachers, everybody around us have come out of it such a different way. The community is so different, and we've come out of it in a really beautiful way. And at the same time, we're also trying to figure out what does it look like after spending 2 years where we couldn't really do much. How do we come out of that place? And I know as a community, we are out of that place for sure. And so now our attempt is, how do we keep what's going on with the community? How do we keep those values going? And then also, how do we continue to teach, and how do we continue to keep these schools going? Knowing that, just like Rodrigo said, we have loans. We have government loans. I have loans from banks. We have all these things going on. And so how do we hold these two things at the same time? And this is actually something we're dealing with right now. I have a meeting right after this to discuss those very things. So COVID was very hard, and there was moments of it that were really beautiful and that were a wake-up call for me as far as my time with my family and my priorities in life. And as a business owner or an entrepreneur, it was horrifying, and I never wish that on anybody. I don't have a lot of enemies, but I don't wish that on anybody. So yeah, it was horrible.
Joseph, just a quick curiosity here. That COVID times, the filming that Matt was doing, this massive amount of filming, they send the filming for us here. I used the filming with my own students to help them. We did some big classes together on Zoom for students of both facilities together. So that's why I consider like sister facilities is sister facility from another country.
Yeah, that was fun. That Zoom class was very fun.
Yeah.
I still remember the coordination I taught. I can't do it, but
Do you guys feel that it's now back to normal, or is it because, so maybe where my question is coming from, because exactly today I was talking with a few people about like working in the internet and working in the real life with people. And today I felt that now it is really to get to normal again. It's about to be at normal again. The problem in Europe we had is after COVID was at least, whatever, like the government didn't call it a pandemic anymore. So this was done. then Vladimir Putin decided to give us another thing happening here in Europe. And this was quite a strong thing for Germany, of course, because it has a lot of ties with the gas from Russia and so on. It was a big thing in Germany. So I felt there was still in this year and last year a lot of missing commitment by people, like that COVID was reprogramming how people were like signing up to things, because it used to be when I was holding a workshop, like 6 weeks before the workshop, like all the people that wanted to come to the workshop signed up. There were no sign-ups anymore, like, in the last weeks before, maybe like one or something like this. And then this flipped around through COVID, because suddenly everything was always super spontaneous, because there were new rules all the time. There are things not happening, and then there were rearrangements and so on. Yeah. So suddenly people were signing up like in the last 2 weeks before an event. And, what also happened is, because all the gyms closed for a time, and then people discovered the online stuff and were able to work from home and so on. Someone that went to a yoga gym in Berlin now might do a yoga class through Zoom, via Zoom in New York, instead of going to the gym, the local gym. So my feeling is there's some people that are sort of lost forever. They just like, they won't go into the gym anymore, it seems. But on the other hand, my feeling is that now it came back. Like, now people want to have really like contact again. Like, people are fed up also with the internet and with the Zoom stuff. And I remember also myself in the COVID time, I had days where I was sitting 8 hours in Zoom. Telling people. And that now when I think back, is when I have like 2 Zooms in my calendar per week, it's already like, okay, I will not have any more Zooms than that this week. Like, I can do 2, no problem. I will survive that. Yeah. But then I was doing like 20 hours, 30 hours a week of Zoom for that time. And I don't understand how I was able to do that. But what's your feeling now about that? Are we back to normal or not?
Okay, for me here, I think that finally we are back to normal. Almost a year now that I feel that people are even craving for the necessity to touch each other and to do partner working. And of course, like, it opens some doors. Even me today, sometimes I still learn from a teacher online. And I know that some students here, they sometimes do this. We have an online program until today, and some of them, like, they live further away, so they come to the facility just 2 or 3 times a week, and they complement their training back home. But it's not much of people doing this. Most of them, they want to come every day, and I feel that finally we got back to normal. I was talking a lot about that with my team of teachers right in the end of this COVID thing, that we would have like some important role to fulfill in the going back, in the touching, the contact, and I think that we are doing a pretty well job.
And Matt, how's that for you in the US?
Yeah, I think we've gotten to this point where there are people, of those 86 people, many of them never came back. And I don't know if that was necessarily about what we were doing or what was going on in the world for them. So we had to really rebuild. And it was very odd to rebuild in the way that we had to, which was with no contact and with masks, and something like the community is, to me, the community is the thing, and the movement is the reason we gather. And I had to figure out, and we, the teachers, the staff, everybody had to figure out, what does that look like? And for a long time, it was just very different. And looking back, it was weird. And at the time, I think we were just happy to be in the same space together. But I would say now we are fully back to a place where maybe those people never came back, but we are fully back. And we have contact improv classes, and we have a lot of partnering classes, and some people in the community who are very interested in that work. And I would say we're fully back. And I do think it took some time, and it had to be soft at certain times, and we couldn't just say, okay, we're back now. And I don't know how we navigated it. Looking back on it, I give younger Matt and younger Rodrigo and younger everybody who was doing this a lot of credit, because it was so challenging and there was so much nuance and so many different opinions of everything. And it was not easy, but we're back. You know, we can do what we want, and slowly, actually, people are trickling back in who maybe haven't been in a few years, which I love seeing. It feels to me like the world is back, even though we lost a lot of restaurants, we lost a lot of places that will never come back in the community.
Yeah. Guys, what are mistakes you did in the beginning that you can share for others so they don't necessarily have to make the same mistakes? Rodrigo?
Hard, because I keep doing new mistakes all the time. The goal is to do less mistakes every year. That's the goal. Less and less mistakes. Put some fixed things and like squatting hacks. That was a huge mistake. Immediately I asked for the guy to customize and cut them. And yeah, this was very practical mistake. Don't start to put a lot of things and lose the space. That the space is the biggest goal for me in a movement facility. What else? We tried some different setups of classes, like 2-hour classes, 1-hour classes, 1 hour 15 minutes classes, but until now, I'm not saying that this won't change and it's the perfect things for everybody in every country, in every culture, but 1 hour and a half, it's showing to be the most realistic. We can never please everybody, always, so a lot of people they keep like begging for 2-hour classes, or they feel, hey, maybe we should have like 1 hour class. It's a business that it's very hard to please everyone. And so I'm all the time like calling people to participate on that construction. So I'm always saying, hey, we are facing a lot of challenges here. If you have any tip, any cue, any idea, please share with me, share with the other teachers. We are constantly communicating. We have this teachers meeting every Friday. So I'm always like calling people to participate. Maybe in the beginning, I was centralizing too much. Maybe it was a mistake. But at the same time, I think it was a survival instinct. Like I had to centralize. Maybe I took a while to decentralize a little bit and trust.
What does it mean, Rodrigo? Centralize?
Centralize the control of what was what the facility was teaching, the other teacher what they were doing. Then I started to give them more trust. And it's always like, it's organic, it's very organic. Sometimes I feel that sometimes I gave too much freedom, and then I call them to be back and align some things, because I always talk about that with Matthew for years now. The biggest challenge is to balance the commercial and the educational side of things. And I keep saying to the students and to the teachers that the educational side is the boss. Even though we need a container, a big and good and healthy business, and we need money to survive. And even though like I know that if I made some changes here, like if I start to do some modality class, like isolated disciplines, shorter classes, maybe we're going to have more students, more people coming in, going out. But I still believe in this more deep contents, more deep meaning. So yeah, like I said in the beginning, it's a lot of mistakes. Some of them you can solve in real time. Some of them you can see. Most of them, it's people outside that are seeing some things that you are not seeing because you are too much identified with that. So the community plays a very important role on that, on seeing some things, because sometimes also I remember a big mistake that I committed right now. I stopped doing the other teachers' classes and I was just doing my practice. And then I got back to practice with them and be a student and feel what the students were feeling in the class. So this was nice to get back to be and to feel the same things that all of the different students are feeling here. And you know, you have to, when you are teaching, you have to teach the same thing in a lot of different ways, because there are a lot of different people, and people here, like there are people that are obsessed by movement and practicing a lot through the day. There are people that have 5 children and 2 jobs, and they just come here to have like this quality of life. So yes, this empathy, I think it's something that has to be all the time on the radar. This empathy towards people that are coming. And after the COVID again, it became massively important for me. Like, hey, we need to provide a healthy environment for people. So we need to communicate with people, to know what they're passing in their lives. At the beginning, I had like 30 students, 40, 50. Until that number, I still had like some kind of control of what was happening in people's lives. If people had lost a job, if people were depressed, finished the relationship. But now I don't have it anymore. Now it's hard to memorize the names. I don't know anymore the names of everyone. It's a pity, but it's necessary. So I'm all the time trying to construct this network system that all the other teachers and the old students, they are constantly communicating with each other and trying to provide this healthy and communicative environment.
Rodrigo, how many people are practicing your gym at the moment?
More or less 300.
And how many people are working in the gym?
We are 7 main teachers, 4 student teachers, 2 people helping in the reception, and 1 people helping on the cleaning, 1 person helping on the cleaning, and my father, my mother, and my sister are always in the background with more admin work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Matt, which mistakes would you be able to share with us?
I think the biggest mistake I made towards the beginning was not understanding that I actually needed to show up as a boss. I never wanted to be a boss. I never liked many of my bosses before. I worked every type of job ever. And it took me until after COVID happened when I started to lose some of the good teachers that we had. And I realized that I had a lot of fear around being this person. I had a lot of fear about being a boss because of every time I've had somebody, I always was kind of like, it never was what I wanted it to be. They were never a mentor. It was always very transactional. And I always tried to be a friend to everybody. And because of that, my communication about what I needed for the community, for the business, for the programming, for all of these things started to really fall off. I never wanted to have hard conversations with people. I always wanted things to be good. I never wanted to have tough conversations. I still struggle with that today. But that was the biggest thing for me, was I needed to learn how to step in to being the head of the business side of things. That was very hard for me. And actually, I would say still to this day is, but it's much easier because I have these relationships with the people who work for me now, and I think it's a lot more understood in myself that that's who I need to be. Is I need to be able to be a boss, and I need to be clear with what I need from them, and I need it to be clear that I have their backs too. That was one. That was a little bit of a challenging one. And then I also think mistake number 2 was trying to do everything all the time. And what I mean by that was trying to always prove to people what a movement practice could be. And as many of the students said around COVID, this was actually what was so beautiful about COVID, was we really got time to reflect. And Liav Baron and I would sit down a lot. We were neighbors at the time, and we would sit and we would say, what mistakes were we making? Oh man, too many classes, not enough time to train together, but all these different things. And when I would talk to students about it, it was always the same thing, which was we're digging too many shallow wells and not hitting water in any of these places. And I think what was happening was I wanted people to so understand what I first saw when I learned about movement, which was this huge, beautiful, maybe not even process, but this huge, beautiful thing. And I always tried to show it to them and explain it to them, but I never let them actually do the thing. I always would talk to them about movement and rarely let them feel what it could be. And so a lot of times that was a programming issue, or I was afraid of the way it would look, I just never leaned into trusting myself to just let something unfold and not feel like I have to be the one who's holding the thing together, to let people have those experiences for themselves, and to let the same way I felt, you can't put that on someone. It has to be experienced. And I think that that was something that I had to learn the hard way, and to let people really dig those deep wells. And even if it was in an area where when I stopped doing strength training, I never said to somebody like, no, we don't do strength work anymore because it's not a part of it. It was always like, let them experience it. Let them have that knowledge, and then they can make their own decision. And so to walk alongside of people more so than trying to push them in a certain direction or to have the same experience that I had.
And how many people are working in, because the thing here is a bit different because you have two gyms. Mm-hmm. So how many people are working there with you, Matt?
We have in Boulder, we have 4 teachers who are teaching the majority of the classes. And in Denver, there are 3 teachers teaching the majority of classes. And then with that, we've got an additional 3 or 4 in each school who teach maybe 2 or 3 classes per week.
And do you have people in the office?
We don't. We don't have people in the office. Myself, so we have 4 people, 2 at each school, who we are called a leadership team, who run everything on the back end and do all the office work. But we also are teaching classes as well. So we're teaching, we're doing the administrative work, we're doing the business work, and luckily Daniel Flores, who's the head of the Denver school now, is also we call here in the States, I guess, the chief operating officer. So he does a lot of the business side of things, and the direction of where we want to take things. And he teaches all day, and he does all of this work, and he's the one really guiding a lot of the back end. And he's a godsend. He makes this thing go. He makes this thing go for sure.
And if we consider all the different roles that someone can take that creates a gym, like you can say the entrepreneur and visionary and all that says, okay, it should go like that. The manager that is making sure like all the trainers that are working there are doing their job, the people in the office are making their job, everyone is communicating with each other as they need, and everything like the system is running smooth. And then you have all sorts of things in the office, from marketing to finances to like law stuff and whatever. Yeah, communication, of course, outbound communication. Then you have the trainers, and there you have like creating the trainer program, the program that the trainers use, researching, teaching. You have the communication with the students of the place and so on. There is so many things to do. What do you guys, like, if you look at the things that you're doing, like, where are you currently in this game? Like, are you able to hand some things off completely, or are you doing everything? How much are you teaching? Are you teaching, or are you in a phase where you are leading the gym, and teaching needs to be done by the other people just because of time constraints? That is just not possible anymore, that you also teach the classes. That would be very interesting to know for me. Matt, maybe you start this time.
Yeah, all of everything you said, and there's more that you left out. But I'll start with all of those roles are right now filled by, I don't want to say by me alone, because obviously I have a team, but all of those roles are filled by our team and our teachers. The amount of love and care that our teachers have for the community means that sometimes they step into some of those roles, and they're always supportive of us. So right now I'm still teaching I teach 11 classes, 12, I teach 12 hours of class right now. I'm also running the teacher training program. I'm dealing with signing a lease and all of our lawyers. I also am in charge of both schools, meaning the direction of the schools. Luckily, I'm able to give the role of the head of school in Denver to Daniel and to Maggie, who's the assistant head of the school. And I really, like Rodrigo said earlier, I really needed to decentralize because I couldn't do everything. And I really let them run with what they want to do. And I want them to make that school, I want them to understand my vision, but I want them to do it the way that makes sense for them and for their skills and how they can show up. And so I give them a lot of leeway. And we of course have discussions, but right now they're writing their own program. They know what to do and they know who's in front of them. They know their students. They know what people need. So I really just gave that over to them. As far as things like marketing, we do no marketing right now, and it's something we need to be doing. We've in the past done some marketing, but everything has always been word of mouth. I don't know how to market. And as I said earlier, really our thing that we're working with right now is that we are artists attempting to business. And that means that we are filling all of those roles, whether it's cleaning the space, and we have people who clean the space, but many times something gets broken and we have to go in there and we have to fix it. And that means that we have to do all of the little things that keep the ship running. Luckily, I'm able to I have 5 people on a salary, which is really unheard of in the fitness industry. And this is something that Daniel Flores really brought to me, which was that we need to allow for our people to not have to think about every single day of their lives, am I going to get a paycheck? So if somebody's sick, if somebody wants to go take a vacation, if someone's training with Tom Wexler, that I want our people to be able to live a life. And that's the biggest thing for me, was to be able to put people on a salaried position and to let them go to work, because we couldn't fill all of those roles. And yet somehow, as the person who's running the ship, I have to fill all of those roles still. But I'm letting go of it. And I know Rodrigo, same thing. Like, we have to let go of some of these things and we have to let people do it. And we have to trust our people. And that's why I'm bringing people on in a salary position. And I don't want to pay people hourly anymore, because it's just too much. We ask too much of our people. The teaching is so challenging. It requires so many hours. For every hour of teaching, it required years of work to get to that place. And I don't think people really understand that, because they're used to, you go to a CrossFit class, that person took a weekend seminar. If you come to a movement class, this person has been doing this for so many years and putting in so much care. And I think that it's something that we're trying to disrupt and something we're talking about, and we're giving people paid vacation. But I know I'm now going on a tangent, but there's a lot of roles that we have to fill. And I don't love filling all of them. And I also love that I still get to teach every day. And that's what keeps me connected to it.
Beautiful. Rodrigo.
Yeah, a lot of things in common. It's always nice to hear. Like where I used to say, like, I miss these horizontal conversations with people that are passing through some similar things. And I think that that's a big pain from a lot of people trying to teach in the way similar to the things that we are teaching nowadays. I like the analogy of the hats, both for the practitioner and actually everything is a practice, right? So what happened to me in the beginning of the year, from 2022 to 2023, one of my main goals, I have just realized that if I don't develop my businessman hat, then this thing won't go any further. That for me was like a shocking moment. Now I need to develop this hat. Okay, it was nice, everything that you built. It was nice that it's I feel that it's a childhood dream. All of this is a childhood dream. And the child inside Rodrigo is very happy. But then I realized, hey, but now you need a real adult to take care of all of this that this child built. So no more excuses. I don't like either the word boss. I was like whenever I have to fulfill any formulary on the street, like profession, I always put teacher. Now, like, just to force myself, I start to write like businessman, like entrepreneur. But I'm forcing myself, so maybe I will believe that I am this. So I started to study more and read more books about this theme. and looking for mentors and teachers, and I'm still looking for that. I'm hiring people. I'm having conversation with some students here that have a lot of different business here in Brasilia, like burger shops and things like this, and they are helping me a lot. But yeah, for me, it was changing the game to accept that I'm also a businessman and I need this hat so I can make this last for generations, which is my main goal. I want this to last for generations. I'm still teaching also. Funny enough, this morning I was practicing football and the guy said, "Hey, but you don't teach anymore, right?" And I said, "No." For me, it was like, "Of course not. Of course I teach. I'm still teaching, and I don't see any close in the radar like the time where I will stop teaching. Maybe, and luckily I'm teaching less. In the old days, it was, oh my God, like 21 classes, group classes a week. And whoever teach group classes know that the level of tiredness is different. It's kind of, you donate some subtle energy there that it's different. I remember in the old days, like coming home at night, depleted, totally depleted. I think that it's also part of the experience to learn how not to donate a lot and save some for you, and also gain back from the students because they also have a lot to give back to you. But yeah, I'm still teaching. I'm teaching less, of course, and I still want to teach a little bit less because I want to open space both for this businessman thing, but more for the researcher and the creation. You know, I really feel that now I need more time to research and create and produce more material from inside out. In the beginning, we were just bringing from outside, and I think that now is the moment to start produce more material. And with marketing, I just had bad experiences till nowadays. Like I had some good things in the beginning, like the company that made the brand, they made a really nice job. They were listening to the old Ido Portal podcasts. They were making interviews with me, classes with me. This was nice. But then whenever I tried to hire people to do some marketing or social media, I was never satisfied. It's so hard to explain people what we are doing. It's so hard for people to understand that the message that we are wanting to share is not even close to the fitness industry or some things like this. And most of the people that did anything for us here, like every employee here, everyone from the cleaning to the reception, they are practitioners. And now for the first time, I started to have some good experience with marketing. I have just started like 2 weeks ago because she is a student teacher. She has just been hired. She's been a student for a while. Now she's teaching and she's helping me. I think that now I have found like good people to do this. But in my experience, at least until now, it has to be someone from inside. Maybe in the future this will change. But yeah, I'm still doing a lot of things.
Something that came up in me just a moment ago, because I thought that might be interesting for some listeners, is how big the areas are where you're located, like in a sense, how many people, you know, are in the area that potentially could come to your gym. So how many, what's the population of Brasilia and what's the population of Boulder?
I know the population of Boulder. It's 100,000, right?
That's right. 100,000 in Boulder. Brasilia is what, 2 million?
No, because Brasilia is funny. It's almost 3 million, but the surroundings, which is like maybe the car drive to Denver, it's considered the surroundings. There's not much people between these 2 million that can come here. In the center, you know that Brasilia has the map of Brasilia. It's funny because it's nothing functional, but it's a plane. All the cities are more of a mandala, and it's easier to communicate and to see people. Here's a plane. So it's the two wings and the center. Inside the plane, which is realistically is the people that are coming to my facility, is 300,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. And we have 100,000 in Boulder. Maybe it's 120,000, but in Denver, there's 1 million people in Denver.
And how far away is it?
It's 50 kilometers from each other. And the location where we are in Denver is a little bit northwest Denver. So it's not in the center of the city. It's a little bit outside of the downtown area. But there's 1 million people in the city. Yeah, for Denver. So a much bigger population there. Boulder's
Okay.
is not very big.
Is your gym in Denver bigger or is the same size, Matt?
It's a little bit bigger in Denver, just a few hundred square feet bigger. So it's very, very similar. It looks very different. We have the same floor that Rodrigo has, or plus or minus the same floor. We have a nice floor there, and the gym that we're hopefully going to sign the lease for in Boulder is going to be an additional 1,200 square feet. So what did we say that was? So sorry with the math. So it'll be 3,600 feet.
So like
feet.
Yeah, so it should be like 330 square meters. Yeah.
And for the first time in Boulder, we're going to have a shower, which will be great.
Oh, yeah. So people can go before work. No, because that's if you have morning classes, no, that's the thing that people ask, like, is there a shower? Because they need to shower before they go to work in the, I don't know, stock exchange or wherever.
Also in the lunchtime. Lunchtime, a lot of lunchtime is a very busy here. And a lot of people come from the work and then get back to the work.
Ah, interesting. I never thought that could be a busy time. I thought like early morning and evening, but nice. Are the classes shorter during the lunchtime?
No, 1 hour and a half. They are being able to make it.
Okay, guys, we don't have so much time left, I think, because you guys have things happening after, and I also have a date with my pillow at some point. But there was a question that we all found was interesting that someone asked. So let's get to this. How to balance out both the membership prices and a financially healthy company?
Mm-hmm.
This is like one of the big questions, huh?
I think this is, I really want to hear Rodrigo's answer. But I think this is the question that I have been every single day thinking about. Every single day, this is something that I'm trying to solve. Rodrigo, do you want to answer first? Because I'm so curious.
I can try because I know that I won't be able to answer properly, but I can share a little bit of my own pains about that, which is there's a big struggle for me that is, I know it's very expensive for a lot of people that are here. I know that a lot of people are making sacrifices to be here. And of course, we have scholarships, we have discounts here and there. But the discrepancy here among the people, how much they make monthly, is very big. So for me, I'm not satisfied at all that everybody has to pay the same membership. Like for me, the best of the worlds would be like people have more money, they can pay a little bit more. People have less money, they can pay little bit less. I never found anything like concretely working like this. I saw a lot of attempts, very hippie attempts most of the times, but I'm not seeing this working realistically. We are still more expensive than like regular fitness or CrossFit, and I think it should, because the amount of investment for education and the time investment, everything is very different. The environment here, I don't know how to answer. Honestly, I don't know how to answer. It's a challenge. It's a constant challenge. I'm constantly trying to find ways. Now that's gonna be nice to share. I'm constantly trying to find ways to have more financial freedom, not just from the regular classes. What is my goal for the next year is to find some other source of income for the facility, not for Rodrigo, for the facility that can provide the facility with the financial freedom to not keep looking out for more and more people and more people and more people. For me, the best of the worlds would be like, okay, let's close the facility with these 300 students. It's a big dream. Maybe a little bit far away, but I believe that I can reach this. And with these 300 students, it's the maximum capacity. We have healthy, we are financially healthy. Then maybe we can open once or twice a year. Okay, 10 people left, then we advertise. We have a list. We are opening 10 spots right now. And then these 10 people enter at exactly at the same time. And then we can make a program for them to start going on to the classes, some separated classes. And then okay, now you can go all along with the group. It's a dream, but a lot of things that are happening right now were a dream before. So maybe we can make this happen.
Nice. Matt, did you have any thoughts now that you want to share?
Yeah, and I can share a little bit of some history too, because when we started, we started at the most expensive gym in Boulder, where we were at $240, and the other most expensive, we have some great martial arts schools here, just like you do in Brasilia, so many things in common. We were the most expensive for a couple of years, and then we decided, let's not be that place anymore. Let's bring it down where we're actually cheaper than most places, and let's see what that does. And then we brought ourselves to this interesting part where at one point I had a business partner come in, and she looked at things a little bit more like the way that I think many gyms do, which is get as many people in, have them pay a rate that's not that expensive, where they're not going to care if they aren't showing up. And that didn't work at all, in the sense of we have relationships with everybody who comes through the door. We care about everybody that comes through the door. Like on my hat right here, it says welcome home. And that's how I feel about it. I don't want it to be a transactional place. I want it to feel like people are coming home to themselves, to their body. That's for another day to talk about. But we actually just this last month announced that we were going to increase prices, which was really scary to our existing customers, students, whatever. Students. I hate that word, customers. And it was really, really a challenging thing. We spent a lot of time figuring out what's the best way to do it, but it was also that it was the reality of what's going on with the increases in how much, like, our property taxes went up 300% this year, just the government taxes. And I didn't really want to put that on anybody. I wanted to just continue to do our best to get more students, but I didn't really also want to go down that avenue too. I didn't want to just keep getting more and more. So we asked that the students pay an increase on their membership, which has been very hard and not the easiest thing in the world to ask people to do, because people have that budgeted. And I know, much like Rodrigo, we have some people who have great jobs, and we have some people who this is their lives, and this is all they want to do, and they want to find a way to just do this all day and turn it into a career. We have people all over the spectrum financially, and also we support people financially, but we've always done that quietly. And an interesting thing that I've realized is that it was important that we were transparent, that we were doing that we were supporting people financially. We had always done it from a place of let's help people, and we don't need to talk about that. But what I've realized is if we're not talking about things, then that's when it gets a little bit confusing for folks, and a little bit, even if we're doing it from a good place, people want transparency. And I think that we owe them transparency, because it's important that they know where we're coming from, and we're just doing our best. I've never been willing to turn it into a commercial enterprise, and at the same time, we need to continue to find a way to make it a viable business, because just like Rodrigo, I hope with all of my heart that maybe one day my children or somebody else's children want to take this thing over. And I think that we're doing good work in the world, and I think that these schools and facilities and groups all over the world are doing really good things for people in a world that gets a little bit sideways. And I don't have a great answer, but just like Rodrigo, we're also trying to find ways, other avenues. And a lot of times that first comes with trying to support our teachers, the staff, not me, but the other people. And how do we let them teach seminars where they keep the majority of that money, right? They have some research that they've been working on, and how do we let them present that work, and how do we let them keep that money and continue to be able to do this professionally, and giving people a platform, and giving people a group of 300 students who really are interested in learning. And so I don't have a good answer, and I know in a few years I will have a much better answer. I want to support as many people as possible, and I want as many people who want to be in the school to be there. And I also just hope that people understand all of the challenges and sleepless nights, like you said earlier, and love that we put into this place. I never got into it for the money. I learned when I was in New York, I very quickly was able to find a way to make money in personal training, and I proved to myself I can do that. And I have no interest in going back to a place where money is the thing. And then there's also the reality. And right now with our employees and the staff, I want to keep going because I think everyone loves doing this work. And I want to find a balance between those things about how do I explain this to my students in a kind way. And this is the first time I'm speaking about this publicly, like this is the first time I'm talking about the struggles. And I think from the outside, everybody thinks, you look at it and you're like, oh man, they got 2 schools, like, oh great. Then luckily the balance sheet, the profit and loss is not out there in the public. And I'm never this is what I want to be doing. This is what I want more than anything. And so I love it. And I think that I hope one day I have a better answer for you about how to find the balance between making money and also doing it in a way that feels like it holds up to the values that I care about.
And I think it is so crucial for people to understand that most of them don't understand the financials behind it. Again, because most people are working employed. They're employed. They don't even know how much their employer actually pays for them to be employed. Yeah, it's like in Germany there are all sorts of these weird calculations. It's like the person thinks my employer pays me 2,000 euro. Actually, your employer pays 3,000 euro. Just there's 1,000 that you never see. So people are completely out of context in a sense. They often have no understanding of this financial side, and this big gym change, like in the US, Planet Fitness, or in Germany, there is McFit, it's called. In McFit, in Germany, you pay, I think, 20 euro per month or whatever. Yeah, it's something very low. And then people, of course, compare that with other places like, in this yoga studio, it costs 100 euro. In this CrossFit place, it costs 150 euro. That's super expensive. But they don't realize that the calculation in Planet Fitness or McFit is exactly that you don't come. So the gym only works because you're not coming to the gym. Most of the people, there are 10,000 people that are signed up for the gym, and only 1,000 or maybe 500 are actually regularly showing up. That's the only way how they can do it, that there's such a cheap price. And in a gym that is based on everyone showing up, like you just said, Matt, the calculation is obviously very different. And people need to really understand, in my opinion, but that they, in the end, are who are putting the thumbs up or the thumb down if a gym is continuing. The entrepreneur and the employees, they do everything and they do their job and pour their heart in and with all this energy. Yeah, but in the end, someone needs to provide money because there's all these bills to pay. And I think if people can connect to that and realize, hey, that I'm paying for the gym is keeping the gym alive. Like they're not taking money away from me, but I'm giving money to them to make sure this place is continuing to exist. That would be, I think, an important change in the mindset towards money.
By the way, I think this kind of conversation is very important. And this is the kind of things that we like to talk, me and Matthew. And I also just want to say that if there's anybody struggling, sometimes I'm doing this, with people like this. People are hiring me for this consulting thing, like how to do the things and the periodization and organization. Maybe there are some people out there that need this more, in a more deep way.
Joseph, I just want to say thanks for saying all that. Because it's just so important to hear. And I don't want people to think, I love doing this work and I couldn't do anything else and I'm not going to do anything else. But it's also just beautiful to hear that said, because sometimes as the person on the other side of it, it's just a weird, I think it would come off strange if I was to say that. So I really appreciate you saying that. I'm never going to, I'm doing this because I love doing it, and I will continue to do it, and I will do everything in my power to continue to share this work with people and to have this community that I love so much. And so, yeah, thank you for saying that.
Very important. Thank you as well. But I'm going to ask Matthew. I'm going to change what you asked me, because this is something nice to ask him, because I know he's doing a good job about that. Simon asked, what are some things you do to increase the community feeling within a gym?
Yeah, for me, this is the priority. And I know some people might hear that and think that that's crazy. But for me, that's the priority, is building the community, because I've been a part of places that I really enjoyed what we were doing there. And I've also, even in the early days of my school, done things where the programming might have been great, or the development of the students' strength was great, or the hand balancing. But every day I think about this community thing, and how can I better, how can I help people to understand that being kind to one another is more important than getting some kind of pattern that I'm showing. How can I be inquisitive or curious about how the session went for the students and what insights they had, more so than me sharing why I taught the class? How can I remind people that at the end of the day, going through struggles and successes with another person give you more than doing it alone? And how do I instill these things and tend to them consistently, and also in a way that will land with people? You can't talk about building community. You have to build it. What I mean by that is, I can't say to the students, we're going to build a community. That doesn't do anything. I have to just continue to share and to hear points of view from everybody else, and to try to find some shared values. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what we all need, and that's what we all maybe are lacking, or were lacking. That's maybe what I was lacking. And I love that we had our retreat last month that Marcello and Shai Farhan came and taught at. And we had some opportunities to honor a few people who have done a lot for the community, and to have them stand up in front of their community and be honored, and to, I don't know, just to remind everybody that it doesn't matter who you are now, it doesn't matter who you were. All that matters is that you show up and you care. And you care about yourself, and you care about others, and you care about what we're doing, and that you find balance in all of that. So yeah, community building is really important, and I really care about it. And I think I do it out of a place of wanting myself and my family to be cared for and supported by a community. So yeah.
Beautiful. Also, what I do constantly is try to remind them that there's no difference in what we do here and we do outside there, because there's no outside there. It's here I'm dealing with this challenge, this frustration, this partner work, but then in my life I'm like this. No, like there's no difference. What you are here, you are outside. So it's much more about using the practice as a container to self-discovery, self-knowledge, to evolution. And it's like for free, as a gift, you gain all the benefits from be in a healthy environment, all the physiological effects of strength training, endurance training, and cognitive challenges. And yeah, also I keep reminding people that we don't know anything about anyone in the class. Like, we don't know. Sometimes you are touching somebody else, touching a body, and there's a history in that body, and it's so rich to know people. Plato used to say that you know more from a person in 1 hour of playing than in 1 year of conversation. And it's so true here. I see like how people start to interact and know each other and become better persons. Like, the biggest feel for me is when I know all of you have similar experiences. Like you received that letter thanking from that person that maybe in the class is not saying much, is not doing much, is always in the corner, but then he sent like this big letter saying a lot of things that has changes in their lives in the past years because of the practice and this and that. And oh my God, this is the biggest feel for me. Oh, always providing this environment for people to interact and to show vulnerabilities as well. Like I show maybe this is also nice. This is something that I changed a lot from the beginning to now. I started to show more and talk more about my own vulnerabilities. And I think this kind of started to change the community a little bit more, and people started to be more open and less afraid of the figure of the teacher, less afraid of show their own vulnerabilities. Yeah, this is very nice for the community.
Nice, beautiful. Guys, let's, as the last thing, because we talked about, also the struggle a lot and that is not difficult. So that is not easy. So maybe we can end our conversation on something uplifting for the person that is listening to this, that wants to open their gym. Yeah. So the imagination now is a friend of yours says, okay, I want to open a gym in a different city, in my city. Matthew, Rodrigo, what word of advice do you want to give me? A few sentences of advice as the end of this episode.
Okay. First, after all these struggles, even though it's difficult, I wouldn't change anything in my life. Like just by thinking about getting back to my old life, my old job, like it's just something that it's inconceivable. I cannot conceive this. And it's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful journey. It's a life that worth to be lived. It's the power of the encounters with people. This is huge. Like I'm very gifted, and sometimes I have to remind myself, because sometimes you are in the middle of the washing machine and you are not realizing how gifted you are to be surrounded by people and sharing and teaching and learning. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Go for it, but go for it with your soul. Go with your bones. I cannot say in another way, because that's what I did. Sometimes when I think from outside, like the things that I did, sometimes I think, it was very naive, but no, it was very true. It was from the essence. It was from my essence, and not from the personality that was built through the society. So if you believe this, like, know that there was a movie that I remember. People asked the actor, he was a medical doctor, and they asked, don't you doubt of your profession? Don't you have any doubts of what you're doing? And he said, every day I have doubts when I wake up and when I go to sleep. But in the middle of the day, I try to do my best. And for me, it was the best thing. The doubts come, but you do your best. And in that moments that you are walking and it's a beautiful day and you are not thinking in anything, and then you realize everything that you are living and how gifted you are, man, go for it. If you feel the call to stud movement or wherever, if you feel the call to share with people your passion, go for it.
I think the world needs more people willing to do something full on and take risks. And as Rodrigo said, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love every second, including the struggles. And for the majority, and I know in this conversation it seemed like everything is struggles, for the majority of the time, it's fucking amazing. And I'm living a life that's full, and I'm living a life where I'm making a difference in people's lives. And I know that I'm a much better father because of how I get to show up and how I practice showing up every day at work. I don't even want to call it work. But it is work, of course. But it's not a job. It's just my work. And I'm the one who gets to do this. And I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything at all as to what's happened. Even we talked a lot about COVID. COVID taught me so much. If you want to do it, nobody else is going to do it. And if somebody else does it and you believe in yourself, you can do it better. And if you care, that's all anybody wants, to know that the person who's teaching them or in front of them cares. That's why I love that I know I can call Rodrigo, and I talk a lot. Every time I talk to him, I know he cares. And that's all anyone wants, is to have a person in front of them who actually cares. And if you care enough to take this chance and to start a group or to start a school, it's going to end up in a great place. And there's going to be struggles, but there's no better job for me in the world. This is what I love doing, and I'm not going to stop.
Nice. Guys, thank you so much. I think this was very helpful for everyone that is in the same business or wants to get into opening a gym, hearing other people that are on this path, that have walked this path, that are walking this path, and being able to connect to their thoughts, I think is so important. And for me, it was a huge pleasure to be here with you and to hear the story behind your gyms and what you had to share. And I thank you a lot. And we will, of course, stay in contact. And who knows, maybe there will be another episode in a few years where we see what has changed.
Great. Thank you. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Joseph. My pleasure. It was very, very nice to share with you guys and talk and learn.